Hello, I'm Sylvan Bell coming to you live from Kauai. It is April 22nd, 2015, 9:29 in the morning. I want to go over the process with you and shoot a bunch of videos of things not to say in sales anymore, right? And so I'm going to take a couple of them. I think there's about 11 right now. I could add to them more later down the road, but right now there's 11 videos. So the first thing is always be closing, always be closing. And I got to share something with you. That advice was really started in the 1940s and the 1950s. And you know, you think about what's lasted since the 1940s and 1950s, right? And so people will say, well, they didn't build them like they used to, and that's not entirely true. So I'm gonna say that this phrase of always be closing is hurting your sales process because it's uncomfortable for the buyer, it's uncomfortable for you. Now I remember that I was over here, well, on Oahu for Christmas, and I hurt my back. And the chiropractor who was helping me out, he says, hey Scott, wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to feel like this anymore? But up until that point, sales was being conversational. We were talking back and forth. Everything was real. And then, like, you know, here's normal, and over here is crazy town. Well, crazy town now is going and asking and saying, oh, these constant closes, because it's uncomfortable for the buyer. It creates a problem for them. And you know, the thing is once people become uncomfortable, then they start looking for reasons to give you an objection. They're like, Scott's making me uncomfortable right now. What do I not like? What do I not like? He's got bad breath. Yeah, and then they start justifying in their mind. Scott's got bad breath, and I'm sure he's like okay at what he does, and then the next thing you know, the sale's lost, okay? So always be closing is bad advice. If you hear people saying it, and you hear somebody, like, you know, they stand in front of a room and they're like, you know, you need to always be closing. Chances are good, they're living in 1970, they should have platform shoes on, be going to a disco that night, and listening to the Bee Gees. Not that there's nothing wrong with them, I like the Bee Gees, but I mean, that's just how far back in time they are. Always be closing, bad advice, bad advice, bad advice. You know, one of the biggest complaints about salespeople is they're using old school sales tactics and old school sales strategies, and it just really hurts. The focus should be between you and them. And this, you know, when you talk to people, because sales is conversational, when you talk to people like they're a normal human being, interacting with them and looking at them and saying, here's what we can do for you and here's what we can't do for you, look, they get that, but what they don't understand is somebody who feels like they're trying to manipulate them. And anytime that somebody feels manipulated, just understand that in the back of their head, they're going, no, 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 no. So I go to this timeshare thing because I always like to watch other salespeople sell. And these people, they keep trying to get me to say yes. They keep trying to get me to say yes. They keep trying to get me to say yes. And I know what they're up to, so on my piece of paper that's sitting in front of me, I'm writing the word no. And I think I wrote the word, I was just like scribbling the word no, like cursive. And I probably wrote it 1,000 times, no, 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 no. And the more that I wrote no, the more that I was telling myself, I'm not gonna buy their product, their service, their widget, their gizmo, which just happened to be travel, okay? Because they went through this process of always be closing. So part of the problem is always asking questions that always end with yes. So, you know, sometimes it's okay to ask a question that ends with no, like, do you really wanna have somebody give you bad sales training? That's a good question, and somebody says no, well, then I agree with you. But see, here's the thing is, every time that that's done, it takes the element of a normal conversation out of place, and it makes it kind of uncomfortable and kind of weird. So those always be closing cliches, bad thing, leave them alone. Isn't it, wouldn't it, couldn't you, shouldn't you, wouldn't you? All of those tie downs that they taught in 1970, 1960, 1950, 1940, those worked back then, right? But there's a lot of things that have changed in the last 50 years. Stop using them. Now, if you could do a small favor for me in the box down below, leave a comment, question, or story, that'd be fantastic. To the right or to the left, there is a subscribe button. Subscribe, then send it out to all your friends via StumbleUpon, Facebook, Twitter, Google+. Scott Sylvan Bell. Only Scott Bell, Sylvan Bell coming to you live from Kauai. We'll see you soon. Thanks for watching. Aloha.